Mission Title Healthcare as is a work of art. Over the past year, you've increased your foothold in over 120 countries across the globe, whilst increasing net profit by 5% in 2012 alone. So, how do we improve on the masterpiece? Put differently, how do we best position ourselves for future growth? These are the questions we set out to answer today with our two-tiered strategy: sustain and engage. But before we get on with that, let us first look at Fisher & Paykel Healthcare as a business. There are two main areas of operation, and that is respiratory and acute care and obstructive sleep apnea. Fisher & Paykel Healthcare relies on consumables for 75% of its revenue, with the remaining 25% coming from medical devices. We've also noted that whilst there's a roughly 50% split in revenue between the two business areas, Fisher & Paykel Health has 80% market share in the respiratory and acute care market, compared to only 5% of the obstructive sleep apnea market. So, what does this mean for Fisher & Paykel Health's strategy? The greatest opportunity for us to add value is in the obstructive sleep healthcare market, obstructive sleep apnea market, with a focus on consumables. This means that it is not only important to focus on obtaining customers, but also ensuring that your customers continue using your products to extend the customer lifetime value. The global healthcare industry has undergone significant consolidation, and there's significant M&A activity occurring between the dominant players in this industry. In order for Fisher & Paykel Healthcare to thrive in this market, it is important that our strategy capitalises on its core competency, and that is innovation.
Bringing all of this together, we identified two key challenges facing Fisher & Paykel Healthcare moving forward. Firstly, customer satisfaction. 75% of your business model relies on disposables, meaning you have the opportunity of continued repeat business. However, when looking at patient testimonials and academic research, we found that patients have a high tendency to stop CPAP treatment products when they aren't reminded of its importance. Discontinued treatment is also high when patients don't feel like they're making immediate improvements. And this is something important which we must address. Secondly, the key determinant to your company's success is R&D expenditure, and we must ensure this is being spent in areas that best reflect future worldwide health trends and delivers the highest return on investment. So as for our first strategy, engage. This involves improving the levels of customer satisfaction. But before we go into that, let's first take a look at the diagnosis process involved with sleep apnea. Firstly, someone who suspects they suffer from the condition gets referred to a specialist. This specialist will then recommend time be spent in a sleep lab for further testing. If diagnosed, the patient will receive a personalised treatment plan involving Fisher & Paykel Healthcare's Sleep Icon machine. This machine will capture and store a user's data on a USB stick, which the patient then takes with them to their GP for an update on their condition. Now, we see a unique opportunity to streamline this process by building Fisher & Paykel Healthcare's very own Sleep Easy app. This app will capture information from the Sleep Icon machine and send it directly to a user's phone. The patient will then have access to key information relating to their condition each and every morning. Through this process, patients will have the comfort of knowing that immediate improvement is being made and that their prescribed treatment is actually working. Furthermore, the app can be synced with a patient's GP. Any unusual occurrences could trigger an email to be sent through, alarming the GP to a patient's situation. What's important for us is that the app is both elegant in design and simple in essence, so that it's easy for the patient to navigate around certain metrics around their health. A mock-up design can be seen on screen behind me, whereby the patient will have access to information such as sleep activity, a checklist related to lung airflow and lung capacity, and other key information around the patient's situation.
Now, Fisher & Paykel Healthcare spends the majority of its R&D efforts on product development. This revolves mainly around increasing the efficacy of their devices. But what is also important is the user experience. We set out to address this with our second strategy, sustain. This involves having a sleep centre where patients can come in and physically test Fisher & Paykel devices. Here, researchers can then collect clinical data as well as less tangible feedback, and then they can analyse and dissect it to identify patient trends and also help aid future product development. This will help Fisher & Paykel have more innovative products that will help maintain its lead as an industry leader. And with implementation, we will have the sleep centre located at the Auckland expansion site. Now this makes sense, as this will place the sleep centre right at the heart of Fisher & Paykel Healthcare's source of innovation. By having the sleep centre, testing and feedback from prototypes will be rapid, speeding up the product development process. We will also have the data being collected, and this will help future product development and will help Fisher & Paykel shift from an evolutionary approach to R&D to a revolutionary approach by helping find the innovations that your customers, your patients really need.
As a financial overview, the projected net present value is $45 million, which is about a 4.6% increase on market capitalisation. We've also estimated a $13.8 million contribution to net income over a projected 5-year period. And implementing our engage and sustain strategy, we have proposed a timeline on how we envision this strategy to be rolled out. Firstly, for our engage strategy, Fisher & Paykel Healthcare will need time to develop its Sleep Easy app before its launch. During the testing stage, beta versions of this app will be released to test out any bugs or errors in the code. This app will provide valuable information for your customers. This will let them gain insight into their sleeping and breathing behaviours without the hassle of physically going to see a GP. A particular point worth mentioning is the continuous customer feedback we seek to obtain from 2014 onwards. The app's user-friendliness is of extreme importance to us, and we must ensure that any further developments will not detriment the app's usability. Moving to our second strategy, which is sustain, we've allocated 18 months for building a sleep centre. Then there will be sleep experiments and tests conducted where data can be collected and analysed. The data collected for analysis will enable you to analyse your customers' needs and determine the right approach in terms of R&D. Now, not only will this further incremental enhancements on your existing products, but it will also provide you the opportunity to look for sources of innovation to stay ahead of your competitors. So to summarise our presentation, we have solved 2 key issues. The first is customer satisfaction, and the second is a sustainable competitive advantage. Through our engage and sustain strategy, we present you the opportunity to develop better technology, focus on your customers and their needs, and maintain a lead in being an innovative and trusted brand. So what are 3 things you can do tomorrow? First is to recruit a team of app developers to implement the engage strategy. 2 is to create construction plans to implement the sustained strategy as part of the Auckland site expansion. And 3 is to find a supplier that supplies components which helps facilitate device to app communication. Thank you. And we would now like to proceed to Q&A.
Okay.
So you said in your second element of strategy, you wanted to implement the Sleep Centre initiative and the Auckland expansion site. So is this just an initial term plan? What is your long-term sort of plan for this? Do you plan to take it overseas? Is it just in Auckland?
With our sustained strategy, building the sleep centre, the experiments will be like ongoing the experiments will be ongoing. So data collection will also be ongoing, and therefore we can collect information to further assist with innovation and R&D.
Yeah, so just to build on that point, we recognise that, look, 80% of your operations are actually overseas. So you have a significant manufacturing plant in Mexico, and actually when we break down sales by region, about 80% of those sales are done in the likes of Europe and North America. So what we see as the unique advantage of being here in New Zealand is that we can use this Sleep Centre initiative here in our own backyard as a bit of a test pilot, if you will, in terms of seeing what's going to work well, what's not going to work so well in terms of our local demographic, and then taking that experience and actually putting it in a sleep centre research facility offshore, and the likes of where our key customers and our key sales are being made, which of course is Europe and North America.
It seems to me that the team strategy is focused on the retention of existing customers. How does the capturing of new customers factor into growth in the OSA market?
So we see the growth coming in one key way, and that's by your focus around substantially better products compared to the competition. So when we look at the likes of Fisher & Paykel's health masks, consumers through testimonials and blogs and what have you, they always talk about how the seal is a lot tighter, the lung airflow is a lot better, and they're able to sleep around at night with a lot more ease and a lot more comfort compared to the likes of ResMed and your other competitors. So we believe that by maintaining a solid commitment towards evolutionary incremental changes in your products, that's the best way to capture new customers, by having a superior product, as opposed to, say, putting emphasis on sales teams and pushing out a product which perhaps isn't as best. So we think it's, to answer your question, best to continue focusing on the R&D, which is what we're really good at, and that's our core competency.
Do you think that Fisher & Paykel should be cash cowing their Respironics business and putting most of their funds into OSA?
Oh yes, so about Steve asked about the main profit driver, so the part that's got 80% market share, the rest percent acute care. We believe that they've really got significant growth in that area, and for this strategy, we're going to focus on the parts that is a bit weaker. So of course there will be the side that will be growing really well, and they're doing superb in that area. But we see that there's also potential for growth for the parts with sleep apnea, because the other side's really developing really well. And that's also with the respiratory and acute disease care. A lot of the growth comes from coming up with new applications, since they've really got large market share. So it's about growing the size of the pie rather than the amount of it. Whereas with sleep apnea, that can be done by increasing the size of the pie, size of the portion of the pie. So that's why.
Yeah, right. In the 6th slide, you talked about customer diagnosis process and raising customer awareness. With customer awareness, the customer might not know that, you could ask, or the patient might not know, but you could ask their family if they've got this problem, because the customer might be, or the patient might be permanently tired, but one way of communicating is to go and ask their family if they're snoring a lot, or if, what's happening there. So rather than trying to raise awareness with someone who doesn't even know they've got it, if you're communicating perhaps with with the patient instead. Yeah, you've got, in about the 12th slide, you don't need to jump to it, but you've got the big sort of waterfall plan of how you're going to go out and develop it. I didn't really hear, you know, that you're actually going to refine the product. You just seem to be charging on with actually, you know, going ahead and developing it and presuming the demand's there. What sort of work would you do to find out what the actual demand is from customers for this product?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of figuring out what demand is, what we recognised is Fisher & Paykel has a real strength already in some of the third parties that they rely on for that information. So the likes of market agency firms who they rely on in determining the kinds of needs around customers who suffer from this problem and different types of sleep apnea. And for us, to answer your question about product development, you know, we're pretty sure that the demand's there, and when we look at companies like ResMed and other kind of bigger competitors, they're putting a huge amount of financial resources towards raising the awareness. So we don't see that as being a huge issue for us in terms of building up that awareness, mainly because we're going to have our competitors do that for us, and then through a superior product offering, they're likely to come to us anyway, as already a large customer base of Fisher & Paykel Healthcare has already seen that transition. So for us, the real value that we see is in maintaining our focus towards incremental product improvement, but the way that we're adding value, if you will, is by actually, instead of taking an evolutionary focus, we want to revolutionise the way that you do this currently by actually getting users in with this problem, seeing firsthand the way that they navigate themselves around this product when they're sleeping or what have you, and taking that kind of market-led approach towards our product improvements.
Have you guys considered any other strategies?
Yes, so we considered, we saw that the awareness of about like 25%, less than 25% of people with sleep apnea actually have treatments and diagnosis. So that means 75% haven't. And so we really considered about raising awareness about sleep apnea, but then again, as Liam has mentioned before, a lot of efforts have really been done for raising awareness by competitors. And also we know that Fisher & Paykel Healthcare is a sponsor of the New Zealand Sleep Apnea Society, I think, and they provide discounts on Fisher & Paykel Healthcare devices.
So are you going to partner with other sort of these organisations?
This is a good idea. We believe that Fisher & Paykel Healthcare is really doing quite a bit on that. And so for our strategy, we decided to address some other issues that are less obvious.
So what's going to set, in your strategy, what's going to set Fisher & Paykel Healthcare apart from competitors, and actually now the competitors for OSA, obstructive sleep apnea?
Yeah, sure. So we think what's going to continue setting us apart is what is already doing so, and that's really our superior product offering. We see many, many stories, and a large part of Fisher & Paykel Healthcare's customer base have come from competitors' products. So they'll start out by trying ResMed's mask, and they'll have difficulty sleeping, they'll be tossing and turning, and the seal will come loose. The advantage for us is to continue our successful innovations around sleep apnea product innovations. So the value that we're proposing is a different way of doing that. It's more market-led and more market-driven. And that's going to keep a sustainable competitive advantage over your competitors who don't have these kinds of facilities already, and maybe take their products and do reverse engineering on them in order to try and figure out a slight area of improvement and what have you.
Okay, thank you.
So I understand why the team wants to improve the products that we sell, but it feels to me that constructing a sleep centre is a very expensive way to do it. Has the team done any cost-benefit analysis on the marginal benefit from such a large construction project?
Sure, so we look at the kind of costs that we can expect, and first of all, they're broken down into a number of components. We first of all have the app. Speaking briefly about that, we see it costs between $50,000 to $250,000 in building an app of this type. That range really reflects the level of detail, the kind of functionality you might be looking for, and what have you. So that 100,000 estimate is based around the fact that our app is relatively on the lower end of that cost, since we're getting data from one of our existing machines and taking that into an app form. Looking at the sleep centre establishment, we looked at data from the likes of McKinsey, BCG and Bain around costs of setting up an establishment centre by companies such as Pfizer and other leading medical companies in that space. And we saw that it was around $2,500,000. What we want to start by doing is having 2 full-time staff on a $70,000 salary each. And then we look at other costs such as the operational costs of keeping this ongoing and what have you. So when we look at the profit and loss projection of what we're proposing, so there's a likely value here of between $1 million to $1,500,000, and of course over a 5-year time horizon. Those costs are going to decrease after the first year, since the one-off establishment fixed costs will be gone. And we see a total contribution to net income of around $13 million. So it's more than substantial to add to your bottom line when we're looking at the kind of numbers that you've reported in previous years.
So that's time, so we'll well done very much.